The cold wind blew through the narrow streets of New Haven City. The lights of the shops were fading as night slowly took over. People hurried home, their faces hidden behind scarves and worries. Among them walked a little girl no more than 10. Her dress was torn at the edges, her shoes full of holes. In her small hands she held a folded piece of paper, an old prescription with her mother's name on it. Her name was Lila. Lila's eyes were wide, not with fear, but with determination. Her mother lay sick in a small dark room on the edge of the city. The doctor said the medicine she needed was rare and expensive. Too expensive for a child who had not eaten for 2 days. But Lila didn't care about hunger. She only cared about her mother's breathing, the slow, painful sound that came with every breath. She stood in front of a glowing pharmacy window. Inside, shelves were filled with colorful boxes and bottles. Behind the counter stood an old man with glasses writing something on a pad. Lila pressed her hand against the glass. Her reflection looked small and weak, but her eyes held something stronger than most adults had. Hope. She pushed the door open quietly. A bell rang above her head. The pharmacist looked up. "Can I help you, little one?" he asked kindly. Lila's voice shook. "Please, sir. Do you have this medicine?" She handed him the wrinkled paper. He read it, frowning. "Yes, but it's very costly. Do you have a guardian who can pay for it?" Lila bit her lip and looked down. "My mother is sick," she whispered. "She can't move." "Please, sir, she needs it," the old man sighed. He was not cruel, but rules were rules. "I'm sorry, child. Maybe you can come back with an adult." He turned to fill another order. Lila's small hands clenched. Her heart pounded. She looked at the shelves, rows and rows of medicine bottles, and there on the middle shelf she saw it. The same name written on the paper, her mother's only hope. The shop was quiet except for the ticking of the wall clock. Lila stepped closer. The man's back was turned. Her fingers trembled as she reached up. The bottle was cold against her skin. For a moment she froze. Her reflection in the glass case stared back at her. A thief. But then she remembered her mother's pale face, the way her lips moved in sleep, whispering, "Lila, don't worry about me." A tear rolled down her cheek. She took the bottle and slipped it into her pocket. The bell rang again as she walked out. Her small feet ran into the night. The wind cut through her clothes, but she didn't stop. Her heart beat like thunder. Every shadow looked like a guard, every sound like danger. But she kept running, through the alleys, over puddles, past the cold eyes of strangers. Finally, she reached home. The door was a thin sheet of metal, the inside lit by a single candle. Her mother lay on a bed made of old cloth and wood. "Mom, I got it," Lila whispered, pulling out the bottle. Her mother's eyes opened slowly, tired but warm. "Lila, where did you—" "Don't talk," Lila said, her voice trembling. "You just need this. You'll get better." Her mother smiled faintly. "My brave girl." Lila mixed the medicine with water and held the spoon to her mother's lips. For the first time in days, color returned to her mother's face. The coughing slowed. Lila sat beside her, holding her hand, watching every breath like a prayer. Outside, the rain began to fall softly, but peace never lasts long. The next morning, a loud knock echoed through the small room. "Open up. City Guard!" Lila froze. Her mother's eyes widened in fear. Another knock, harder this time. "We know someone stole medicine from the pharmacy last night." Lila's heart stopped. She looked at her mother, tears welling in her eyes. Her mother whispered weakly, "Lila, tell them the truth." Lila shook her head. "No, Mama, you'll get sick again." "They'll take it away." The door creaked open. A tall guard stepped inside, followed by the same old pharmacist. He looked shocked to see Lila there holding the empty bottle. "You?" he whispered. "It was you?" Lila's voice broke. "I swear I'll never do it again. I did it for my mom." The room fell silent. The guard's eyes softened. The pharmacist looked at the sick woman, then back at the little girl who stood trembling but unafraid. He sighed deeply and turned to the guard. "It's fine. Let them be," the guard frowned. "But no," the old man said firmly. "I'll handle it." When they left, the old man looked back one last time. "Take care of your mother, little one. And next time, ask for help." Lila nodded, tears falling freely. That night she sat beside her mother again, watching the candlelight flicker on the wall. The medicine bottle stood empty on the table, but her heart was full of love, guilt, and a promise she made to herself. "I'll never steal again," she whispered. "But I'd do anything to save you." Morning light slipped through the cracks of the old roof. The rain had stopped, but water dripped from the edges, making soft sounds in the small tin cup near the bed. Lila woke up first. Her mother was still sleeping, her breathing calm, her face no longer pale. Relief spread through Lila's small heart. She sat quietly watching her mother like she was afraid that if she looked away, everything would disappear. But the memory of last night still haunted her. The sound of the guard's voice, the look in the pharmacist's eyes, and her own trembling words. "I did it for my mom." She felt the weight of guilt pressing down heavier than her empty stomach. Outside, the city was alive again. People rushed to work. Children laughed on the streets. Vendors shouted about their bread and soup. The world moved on, but Lila's world was still trapped in fear. Her mother slowly woke up. "Lila," she whispered weakly. "Come here, my dear." Lila ran to her side. Her mother smiled faintly and brushed her hair back. "You saved me, Lila. But stealing is wrong. You know that?" Lila lowered her head. "I know, Mama. I swear I'll never do it again. But I was so scared. You were dying. I couldn't just sit there." Her mother sighed softly. "You did it out of love. And love makes people strong, but it must never make them lose themselves." Lila nodded silently, her eyes filling with tears. Hours later, a knock came again at the door. This time it was soft. Lila froze. Her heart began to race. "Is it the guards again?" she whispered. Her mother shook her head slowly. "Open it, dear." Lila opened the door, ready to run if needed. But it wasn't a guard, it was the old pharmacist. He stood there holding a small basket. Inside were medicines, fruits, and a loaf of bread still warm from the bakery. "Good morning, little one," he said kindly. "I hope I didn't frighten you." Lila didn't know what to say. She stepped back, her eyes wide. Her mother tried to sit up, but the man raised a hand. "Please don't, you need rest." He placed the basket on the small wooden table. "I came to check on you both," Lila whispered. "You should be angry with me." The man smiled faintly. "I was for a moment, but then I thought about it all night. I realized, I've seen rich men steal for greed. You little one stole for love." Lila's eyes filled with tears again. "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to cause trouble." "I know," he said gently, "but next time ask for help. There are still people who care." He looked around the small home, the broken chair, the cracked wall, the single candle. He felt something stir in his chest, something warm yet painful. For the next few days, the old pharmacist came back again and again. He brought soup, clean blankets, and more medicine. Slowly, Lila's mother got stronger. Her laughter returned, soft and kind. The man's name was Mr. Harlan. He lived alone above his shop. He had lost his own daughter years ago to sickness, and seeing Lila reminded him of the little girl he never got to save. One evening, as he handed Lila a loaf of bread, he said softly, "You have courage, child, but you shouldn't have to fight the world alone." Lila tilted her head. "What do you mean, sir?" He smiled sadly. "You and your mother need a new start. Somewhere safe where you can both live with dignity." Her mother looked down. "We can't repay you, Mr. Harlan. We have nothing." He shook his head. "You already gave me something. Hope." That night, as they sat together by the candlelight, Lila whispered to her mother, "He's kind, isn't he?" Her mother nodded. "Yes, my love. Sometimes when you act from your heart, the world answers back with kindness." Lila looked at the window where stars peeked through the clouds. For the first time in a long while, she didn't feel afraid of tomorrow, but fate wasn't finished testing them yet. Days later, Mr. Harlan didn't come to the shop. The door was locked. Neighbors whispered that something had happened. A fire had broken out in the storage area behind his pharmacy. Lila's heart froze. She ran through the streets, ignoring the smoke and the shouting crowd. When she reached the shop, firemen were already pulling charred wood from the ashes. "Mr. Harlan," she cried. "Where is he?" A man turned to her and said gently, "He's alive, but badly hurt." They took him to the city hospital. Tears blurred Lila's eyes. She wanted to run there, but her mother's weak body couldn't be left alone. She clenched her fists, torn between fear and helplessness. She looked up at the sky, whispering, "Please." Let him live. He helped us when no one else did. That night, Lila sat by her mother watching her sleep. The fire's glow from far away still flickered against the clouds. She held the old man's gift in her hands, a small wooden cross he'd given her for luck. Her heart whispered the same words again and again. I'll never steal again, but I'll do anything to help those who helped me. And in that quiet moment, a small spark began inside her, a promise that would one day change her life forever. The smell of smoke still hung in the air the next morning. The streets of New Haven were quiet, but whispers spread fast. The pharmacy burned down. Mr. Harlan was hurt. Lila sat near the window staring at the sky. Her little hands clutched the wooden cross Mr. Harlan had given her. Her mother's voice broke the silence. Lila, she said softly, you've been sitting there since dawn. Eat something, child. Lila shook her head. I can't, Mama. Mr. Harlan is in the hospital. I need to see him. Her mother looked weak, but she smiled faintly. Then go, my dear. Take the bread on the table and go see him. Tell him we're praying for him. Lila nodded. She packed a small piece of bread and the same old blanket that had once covered her mother. She didn't have flowers or gifts, but she had heart, and that was enough. The city hospital stood tall and white, surrounded by the smell of medicine and the sound of footsteps. Lila walked through the doors, her heart beating fast. The nurse at the counter looked down at her. Yes, little one? I came to see Mr. Harlan, Lila said quickly. He's hurt. He helped my mom. The nurse frowned. Are you family? Lila hesitated. He's my friend. Something in her voice made the nurse pause. She sighed. Room 17, second floor. But don't stay long, okay? Lila nodded gratefully and hurried through the hallway, clutching the blanket tightly. When she entered the room, her eyes filled with tears. Mr. Harlan lay on the bed, his arm bandaged, his face pale. Machines beeped quietly beside him. For a moment, Lila couldn't speak. Then his eyes opened slowly. When he saw her, a faint smile appeared. Lila, she ran to his side. Mr. Harlan, I was so scared. I thought... Her voice broke. He reached out with his weak hand and patted her head. It's all right, child. The fire, it spread too fast, but they saved me. Lila held out the piece of bread. I brought this. You always gave us food. Now I want to share it with you. The old man's eyes softened. You're too kind for this world. Lila shook her head. You were kind first. They sat quietly for a while. The sun shone through the window, lighting up the room. After a few minutes, Mr. Harlan said in a low voice, Lila, I've been thinking. When I'm better, I'll rebuild the shop, but this time I'll make sure no one has to steal for medicine again. Lila looked up. You'll help poor people for free? He smiled. Yes, I'll create something called the Hope Fund. Anyone who can't pay will still get what they need. Lila's eyes shone with admiration. That's amazing, sir. He laughed softly. And you'll help me, right? Me? Yes, you have a brave heart, Lila. I'll need someone honest and strong beside me. Her small face lit up. I promise, Mr. Harlan. I'll help you every day. But fate can be cruel. A sudden sound of shouting came from the hallway. Nurses rushed past the room. Lila turned in alarm. What's happening? She asked. A doctor ran by saying, a power cut. The backup generator's down. The lights flickered. The machine beside Mr. Harlan beeped rapidly. The doctor hurried in. We need to stabilize him. Lila froze in fear. She backed against the wall as nurses surrounded the bed. One of them shouted, the oxygen line's weak. Lila's eyes darted to the table. She saw the loose connection. Without thinking, she rushed forward, holding the tube steady with her small hands. Stay back, girl. The nurse cried, I can help. Lila shouted back, please, just fix it. I'll hold it. The nurse quickly reattached the connector. The machine steadied again. The doctor sighed with relief. Good work, little one. Lila's hands shook. Mr. Harlan slowly opened his eyes. You saved me again, he whispered weakly. Lila's lips trembled. You saved us first. When things calmed, a young nurse knelt beside Lila. That was brave. Not many children could stay that calm. Lila looked at her hands. I wasn't brave. I was scared. But I couldn't let him die. He's the only good person we have. The nurse smiled gently. Then maybe you're the good person too. Lila looked down, shy and quiet. That night, back at home, she told her mother everything. Her mother held her close, tears filling her tired eyes. You risked your life for him? Lila nodded. He's family now, Mama. He said we'll help people together. Her mother whispered. That's what real strength is, kindness. Even after pain. Lila looked at the stars outside the window and whispered softly. I made a promise today. I'll never steal again, but I'll spend my life giving. Days passed. Mr. Harlan began to heal slowly. Word of the fire and the brave little girl spread through the town. People started visiting the hospital, bringing flowers, food, and donations. They said they wanted to help rebuild the pharmacy. They called it the Hope House. And Lila became a symbol of courage. The girl who once stole medicine out of desperation, now helping build a place that would give medicine to all. Months passed since the fire. The air in New Haven felt different, warmer, kinder, as if hope itself had returned. Where the old pharmacy once stood, a new sign now hung over the door. The Hope House, Medicine for All. It was smaller than before, but it glowed with light and love. Inside, shelves were filled again, not just with bottles and boxes, but with stories of people who had been helped. And among them was Lila, now wearing a small apron, her hair tied neatly, her eyes bright with purpose. Every morning, she opened the shop doors and greeted the poor, the sick, and the lost. She remembered what it felt like to stand helpless, clutching an empty hand. So when someone came in crying, she always smiled and said, Don't worry, we'll find a way. Her mother worked too, sitting near the counter, folding paper bags and keeping records. Though her health was still fragile, her heart was full. She often looked at her daughter with pride. Mr. Harlan, now recovered and walking with a cane, watched Lila with quiet admiration. You remind me of the daughter I lost, he said one afternoon. Lila smiled softly. And you remind me of the father I never had. They both laughed. Their pain healed a little more each day, but not everyone in the city was happy about the Hope House. Some wealthy pharmacy owners nearby were angry. They lost customers because people now came here for free or cheap medicine. One of them, Mr. Briggs, was especially bitter. He owned the largest drugstore in New Haven, a place that only the rich could afford. This charity nonsense will ruin business, he shouted to his manager. Who do they think they are, giving away medicine for free? His manager hesitated. Sir, people respect them. They say that little girl saved lives. Bah! Briggs interrupted. She's just a thief who got lucky. We'll see how long their kindness lasts when they run out of money. Days turned into weeks. The Hope House stayed busy, helping more and more people, but slowly their supplies began to shrink. Donations stopped coming as winter arrived. Food grew scarce again. One evening, Lila sat counting bottles. Mr. Harlan, she said quietly, we're running low. We don't have enough medicine for everyone, the old man sighed. I feared this day would come. But don't lose hope, child. Kindness always finds a way. Still, Lila couldn't sleep that night. She sat by the window watching the snow fall. She remembered the night she had stolen medicine, how desperate she had been. And now people were knocking at her door with the same desperation. Her heart ached. She whispered to herself, what if kindness isn't enough? The next morning, a woman came in carrying a small boy in her arms. His face was pale, his breath shallow. Please, the woman cried, he's burning with fever. I can't afford the hospital. Please save him. Lila looked at the shelf, only one bottle left. The same medicine she had once stolen. Her heart pounded. She looked at the woman's eyes. The same fear, the same love she once had for her mother. Without hesitation, she handed the bottle to the woman. Take it, don't worry about the cost. The woman wept, hugging Lila tightly. God bless you. As she left, Mr. Harlan came in. What did you give her? He asked gently. The last one, Lila whispered. He nodded slowly. Then we'll pray another arrives tomorrow. But something strange happened that night. A knock came on the door just before closing. When Lila opened it, she froze. It was Mr. Briggs, the rich pharmacist. He stood there holding a large box. Snowflakes clung to his coat. You're Mr. Briggs, Lila said cautiously. Yes, he said, clearing his throat. Don't look so surprised. I brought these. He opened the box, full of medicine bottles. Lila blinked. You're helping us? He looked away. A boy came to my shop earlier. He was healthy, said your medicine saved his life. I realized something tonight, girl, Lila waited silently. Briggs continued, voice low. I sell medicine to live. You give it to save lives. Maybe I forgot which one matters more. He placed the box on the counter and turned to leave. Take it, no charge. Lila's eyes filled with tears. Thank you, sir. He stopped at the door. Don't thank me. Just keep doing what you do, maybe. You'll remind others of what it means to be human. When he left, Mr. Harlan smiled faintly. See, Lila? Even hearts of stone can melt when touched by kindness. Lila looked at the glowing bottles in the box, her reflection shining in the glass. She whispered softly, I once stole medicine for love. Now love brings it to my door. Her mother hugged her from behind. That's the beauty of giving, my child. What you give from the heart always returns. The Hope House stayed open through the winter. People came not only for medicine, but for warmth, for kindness, for hope. Lila became known across the city as the Girl of Hope. And though she was still young, her courage began to change even the coldest corners of New Haven. Winter passed, but Lila's name remained on everyone's lips. In New Haven, stories spread quickly, and the story of the Girl of Hope spread faster than the wind. People said she was the little girl who once stole a medicine bottle, but instead of becoming a thief, she became a savior. Others said she had a gift, a heart that healed more than medicine ever could. The Hope House was always full now, not only with the sick, but with kind souls who wanted to help. Volunteers came to clean, to cook, to carry boxes. A few even donated small amounts of money to keep the place running, but with fame came pressure and new challenges. One day, a large carriage stopped outside the Hope House. From it stepped a man in a fine black coat with golden buttons. His shoes shone like mirrors and his eyes carried power. Mr. Harlan looked up in surprise. That's Governor Alden, the city leader. Lila froze. Why would he come here? The man entered the shop, his guards behind him. The room fell silent. Everyone stopped what they were doing. Governor Alden's deep voice filled the air. Who is the girl named Lila? Lila stepped forward, her hand shaking slightly. I am, sir. He looked at her for a long moment, the little girl in a worn dress standing tall beside shelves of medicine. Then he smiled slightly. You have done something no one else could. You've healed not just people, but hearts. The city owes you thanks, everyone gasped. The governor continued. But the city also has laws. You stole once, didn't you? Lila's heart dropped. The room grew tense. She nodded slowly. Yes, sir, I did. But I did it for my mother. He studied her closely, then said, Do you regret it? Lila's voice trembled. I do, but I also learned from it. I'll never steal again. Instead, I'll spend my life giving. The governor's expression softened. Then the city forgives you. From this day, you will not be known as a thief, but as the little healer of New Haven. Applause filled the room. Tears streamed down Mr. Harlan's face. Lila stood still, too overwhelmed to speak. Over the next few weeks, more visitors came. Some were doctors who wanted to work with the Hope House. Some were reporters who wanted to write about her. But fame brought new problems, too. People began arguing about who should control the Hope House. Some said it should belong to the government. Others said the church. Some even accused Lila and Mr. Harlan of taking donations for themselves. One evening, Lila overheard two men outside the shop whispering. She's just pretending to be a saint, one said. No one gives that much without wanting something back. Lila's chest tightened. She ran to Mr. Harlan. People are saying bad things about us. Why? We never took anything. Mr. Harlan sighed heavily. Lila, when you do good in a world full of greed, people don't always believe it's real. But that's when you must stand firm. She looked down. It hurts. When they say lies. He put a hand on her shoulder. Truth doesn't need noise. It shines on its own, in time. Days later, tragedy struck again. Mr. Harlan's health began to fail. His hands shook, his steps slowed, and he often sat quietly by the window. One evening, he called Lila over. Child, he said softly, my time may not be long. Promise me something. Tears filled her eyes instantly. Don't say that. You'll get better. He smiled weakly. Promise me you'll keep the Hope House alive, and even when I'm gone. Promise you'll never let greed or fear take away your kindness. Lila gripped his hand tightly. I promise. I'll protect it with all my heart. That night, snow began to fall again, just like the night she first stole medicine. Only this time she wasn't a scared little girl anymore. She was someone the world looked up to. But as she sat by Mr. Harlan's bedside, she couldn't stop the tears. "You gave me everything," she whispered. "I'll never forget." Mr. Harlan opened his eyes one last time and smiled faintly. "Then I can rest knowing the world will be better. Because of you." His hand went still. Lila buried her face against his chest, her sobs silent but deep. Outside, the Hope House light flickered in the storm, not fading, but burning brighter as if his spirit stayed there. The next morning, hundreds gathered outside the Hope House. People from every corner of the city came, rich and poor, young and old. Lila stood before them, her small voice steady though her heart was breaking. "Mr. Harlan built this place with love," she said, "and I promised him it would never close. So from today, the Hope House will stay open, forever, for everyone who needs it." The crowd cheered, tears shining in their eyes. The governor himself stepped forward again. "Then let it be written," he said, "that the Hope House will be protected by the city in honor of Mr. Harlan and the courage of Lila, the girl of hope." That night, Lila sat alone in the quiet shop. The shelves glowed softly under the candlelight. She whispered to the empty chair beside her, "I'll keep my promise. Mr. Harlan, I'll heal hearts like you healed mine." She looked at the medicine bottles, symbols of her journey. "I stole once to save a life," she said softly. "Now I give to save many." Weeks turned into months after Mr. Harlan's death. The Hope House stood strong, brighter and busier than ever. But though the building was full of people, Lila's heart often felt empty. She missed Mr. Harlan's laughter, his soft advice, the warmth of his presence. Sometimes when she worked late at night, she could almost hear his voice saying, "Keep going, child. Don't lose faith," and she never did. Lila made sure every sick person who came through the door was treated. She cleaned, cooked, delivered medicine, and smiled even when she was tired. People called her Little Angel of New Haven. But not everyone was smiling with her. One day, two men in black suits came to the Hope House. They looked important. One carried papers, the other a silver badge. "Miss Lila?" the first man asked. "Yes, sir," she said politely. "I'm Mr. Kellen from the City Health Board. We're here to inspect your facility." Lila nodded. "Of course. Please come in." The men walked through the rooms writing notes. They examined the medicines, the food, even the old wooden floor. After a while, Mr. Kellen looked up and said, "You're doing good work here. But there's a problem." Lila's heart skipped a beat. "Problem?" he sighed. "The land this building stands on. Legally, it was never transferred to you. It still belongs to Mr. Harlan, and since he had no family, the city now owns it." Her eyes widened. "What does that mean?" "It means the city may take over this place," he said coldly. "Or sell it." The words hit her like a storm. "No, you can't. This place helps people. Mr. Harlan wanted it free for everyone." The second man crossed his arms. "We understand your feelings, child, but we follow the law." Tears filled Lila's eyes, but she stood tall. "Then I'll fight for it. This is not just a building. It's hope." The men exchanged glances. Mr. Kellen sighed again. "You have 1 week to present proof that this place belongs to you or your trust. After that, it becomes city property." When they left, Lila sat by the counter, her hands shaking. Her mother came in from the back room. "What's wrong, Lila?" Lila told her everything, tears streaming down her cheeks. Her mother held her close. "Shh, my brave girl. Mr. Harlan must have left something for you, maybe papers or a letter." "Did you check his old desk?" Lila gasped. "The desk? It's still upstairs in his old room." She ran up the creaky stairs and opened the dusty drawer. Inside she found old papers, bills, and a small sealed envelope with her name on it. Her heart pounded as she opened it. Inside was a letter written in Mr. Harlan's gentle handwriting. "My dear Lila, if you are reading this, it means I am gone. I have left the Hope House to you, for you are its true heart. But I fear some men will try to take it. So I hid the proof and a legal document of ownership, where it all began. Find it where hope was first born. With love." Harlan. Lila read the words again and again. "Where hope was first born," she whispered. Where could that be?" Her mother thought for a moment. "The night you first met him." "Where was that?" "The pharmacy," Lila whispered. "The one that burned down." The next day, before sunrise, Lila went to the ruins of the old pharmacy. The building was gone, but part of the stone foundation remained. Snow covered most of it, but she dug with her hands, ignoring the cold. After a long while, her fingers touched something hard, a small metal box buried under the stones. Her heart raced as she opened it. Inside, wrapped in cloth, was a paper with a red seal. Property transfer. The Hope House. Owner. Lila Harlan. Her eyes filled with tears. He did it. He really did it. But as she stood, a shadow moved behind her. Mr. Kellen was there, with 2 guards. He had followed her. Well, he said coldly. So the rumors were true. Lila stepped back. You have no right to be here. He smirked. And you have no right to hide city documents. That paper belongs to the government. She held the box close to her chest. No. This belongs to the Hope House. It's mine. Mr. Harlan gave it to me. He reached forward. Give it to me, girl. Lila turned and ran. Her boots slipped on the ice, but she didn't stop. The guards chased her through the narrow streets, shouting. Her heart thundered as she reached the bridge leading back to the city. Snow blinded her eyes, but she clutched the box tighter. I can't lose this, she whispered. Not again. A hand grabbed her shoulder. One of the guards caught her coat. She struggled and fell, the box sliding across the bridge. For a moment it teetered on the edge, then fell into the icy river below. No, she screamed, diving to her knees. The paper, her only proof, was gone. Mr. Kellen looked down with a smirk. Looks like your hope just drowned. Then he turned and walked away, his boots crunching in the snow. Lila stayed there on the frozen bridge, crying as the cold wind howled around her. But after a moment she wiped her tears and whispered, No, hope doesn't drown. Not while I'm alive. That night she returned to the Hope House with soaked clothes and numb hands. Her mother rushed to her. Lila, what happened? They took everything, she whispered. The paper, it's gone. Her mother hugged her tightly. Then we'll find another way. We always do. Lila looked around, at the shelves, the beds, the faces of people who depended on her. No one will take this place, she said quietly. I'll protect it, even if I have to fight the whole city. And in her eyes a spark returned, small but fierce, the same spark that had lit the Hope House from the beginning. The next morning, snow still covered the city like a blanket of silence. But inside the Hope House, hearts were not quiet. Word had spread that the city wanted to take the building, that Lila had lost the proof Mr. Harlan left behind. People gathered outside, worried and angry. She saved my son, cried one woman. They can't take this place from her. She helped my old father for free, shouted another. This place belongs to the people, not the city. Within hours, a large crowd filled the street. They carried candles, holding them high against the cold wind. In the middle of them stood Lila, small, shivering, but unbroken. Inside the city hall, Mr. Kellen and his men were already preparing documents to close the Hope House. Once the papers are signed, he said coldly. We'll auction the land next week. A younger officer hesitated. But sir, people love that place. There might be protests. Kellen frowned. Emotions don't change laws. He turned, but before he could leave the room, the door burst open. Lila stood there, her cheeks red from the cold, her clothes still damp. You can't take it, she said, voice shaking but strong. You can't take the Hope House, Kellen smirked. You again. Brave, aren't you? But without proof you have no claim. Lila stepped forward. You think paper makes something real? Mr. Harlan didn't build the Hope House with money. He built it with love. And you can't steal love. Her words echoed through the hall. The guards hesitated. Even the officer behind Kellen looked down. But Kellen's eyes narrowed. Love doesn't own land, child. Leave now before I call security. Lila clenched her fists. Then I'll show you something better than paper. She turned and opened the door wide. Outside, the crowd of people stood waiting. Hundreds of them. The sick, the poor, the elderly, even small children. All holding candles, their lights shining in the falling snow. This is the proof, Lila said. Every person out there was helped by the Hope House. Their lives are the real documents. Their hope is the seal. The crowd cheered. Hope. House belongs to the people. Kellen looked out, his expression shaken. This is illegal. A deep voice interrupted. What's illegal, said Governor Alden, stepping into the hall, is using power to crush goodness. Kellen froze. Governor, sir, Enough, Alden said firmly. I received letters from hundreds of citizens this morning. They all stand with this girl. The Hope House stays. Effective immediately, it will be protected by the state and placed under the care of Lila Harlan. Lila's eyes widened. Harlan. The governor smiled softly. Yes, Mr. Harlan signed an adoption paper months before his death. You are legally his daughter, his last act of love. Tears rolled down Lila's face. He made me his daughter? Alden nodded. And now his legacy, and yours, will live forever. Outside, the crowd erupted in joy. People cried, hugged, and cheered as Lila stepped out onto the snowy steps. The candles around her glowed brighter, reflecting off the frozen streets. She lifted her voice so all could hear. Mr. Harlan once told me that kindness can light even the darkest place. Today, I see that light in all of you. The Hope House isn't just walls, it's every heart that believes in helping others. We'll never let that light die. The people shouted her name again and again. Lila, Lila, the girl of hope. Months passed. Spring came. The Hope House expanded, with clean rooms, trained doctors, and a small school for poor children. And at the center of it all was Lila, grown taller now, still wearing her simple smile. Every day she told her story to the children who came to learn. I once stole medicine, she said softly. But that mistake taught me something. Doing wrong for love can still lead to something right if you change your heart. She looked at the sunlight pouring through the windows and whispered, Mr. Harlan, we did it. The light is still here. Her mother, sitting nearby, smiled proudly. You kept your promise, my brave girl. Lila nodded. And I always will. That evening, when the stars appeared, she walked outside and looked at the city that once ignored her. Now it glowed, not because of power or wealth, but because people had learned to care. She closed her eyes, remembering her first night outside the pharmacy, the hunger, the fear, the love. And she whispered the same words once more, but this time with peace in her voice. I swear I'll never do it again. I did it for my mom, and now I do everything for everyone.